Welcome back to another episode of Strife's Talking Points, where I try and talk about the things I find interesting, trying to make sense of the world we all live in. Here's a real quick hit on an issue from The Blade. This is just off the presses this afternoon. Jury hits Oberlin College with a total $44.2 million in damages. For those of you who have not been following this story, Oberlin College, the local bakery there at Oberlin, in the Oberlin College area, had caught 3 black students shoplifting. They called the police. Those people then were arrested. Later on, they pled guilty to the charges because they were shoplifting. However, Oberlin College itself instituted a massive protest, a backlash from the college, basically attacking the bakery in multiple ways, and the jury has found the college guilty. So here we go. Elyria, Ohio. The family at the center of the defamation lawsuit against Oberlin College hugged in celebration on Thursday when a jury granted them $33 million in punitive damages on top of $11 million compensatory award they already owed by the liberal arts school. The newly decided punitive damages, money awarded to plaintiffs basically to deter future conflict, were broken down by the jury into $17 million for David Gibson, $8.7 for the family patriarch Alan Gibson, and $6.97 for their company Gibson Brothers Inc. That's the bakery they run. The family sued Oberlin following an incident on November 9th, 2016, in which black college students attempted to shoplift wine from Gibson's bakery. A grandson of the family, also named Alan Gibson, who is white, followed the students out, leading to a physical altercation in front of the store. The student and 2 friends who were also black were then arrested. Protests erupted on campus in the days following, the students claiming that the robbery charge and subsequent conflict were racially motivated, as well as claiming a history of racial profiling by the store. The arrested students later backtracked those claims and pled guilty to the misdemeanor in court, and the Gibsons brought a lawsuit against both Oberlin College and Vice President and Dean of Students Meredith Raimondo. The suit alleged libel and accused the school of supporting the students' harmful actions and cutting economic ties to the bakery. Last week, a Lorraine County Common Pleas Court jury ruled in favor of the Gibson family, awarding them $11 million for the past and future economic and non-economic harm and loss. The Oberlin College's financial hit got even worse on Thursday when the institution was ordered to pay punitive damages plus undetermined attorney's fees. Woo! A lot of money. For a family like ours, when you're a small business, your family, your reputation is all one. That's what takes us to the next day, and we're proud of it. David Gibson told The Blade after the verdict. This bakery that they're referring to, the Gibson family bakery there, has been around for over 100 years. It is, I believe, on its 5th generation, and that's why you see such a big thing here. Gibson attorneys underscored that punitive damages are meant to discourage not only Oberlin, but other institutions from committing similar acts. I wonder, in this era we're currently in, where most colleges and institutions, if you follow more of the news directly other than what you see on the mainstream, you will see that a lot of colleges are out there going after people. They are acting as judge, jury, pushing these ideas that history doesn't matter. A lot of these things don't matter. The Oberlin attorney, Rachel Zidar, argued the punitive damage award is not necessary to motivate a change, and the college and the dean have already learned their experience. Now, there is a side note here. After the cash award, the $11 million was set out, there is actually an email blast sent from the college out to, basically everyone, telling them that they had not done anything wrong, that it was this bakery's fault, basically showing they had not learned anything from the incident. However, it is my knowledge that the evidence was not allowed to be presented in court, that the college had actually not learned anything and they were continuing down the original path. Since the award of $33.2 million is above the punitive damage cap, Cap Lee, lead attorney for the Gibson family, said motions will probably be filed on the lower award. A contentious piece of evidence during the trial was a flyer printed and handed out by students during November 16 protests against Gibson's Bakery. The flyer read, "Don't buy," and started, "This is a racist establishment with a long account of racial profiling and discrimination. Today we urge you to shop elsewhere in light of a particular heinous event involving the owners of this establishment and local law enforcement." In their original complaint, the Gibson family accused the school of being involved with the preparation and publication of flyer and accused Miss Raimondo of personally handing out these flyers. Attorneys for Oberlin argued the flyer was published by students and that for administrators, those with decision-making power and those on the trial, the flyer could not possibly constitute actual malice on their behalf. Except for, as the evidence came out, of course, the jury did not see it that way. Rolling down, Oberlin attorney Matthew Nicken clarified Mr. Merrick's numeric claims, saying the college has been operating an unsustainable deficit situation year after year, a situation caused largely by sustainable declines in enrollment. Mr. Nakon said, outside a small portion, less than $50 million of the endowment, the college has little or no discretion over how the endowment is spent. Now, in this originally, there was a context where the Oberlin College said the bakeries were $35,000. Keep in mind, this is a bakery that's gone through 5 generations, been around for about 100 years, and had a dozen employees before the time of this outrage. Oberlin College, tuition, room, and board is roughly $70,000. And Oberlin College's argument is they don't have any money and they don't need to pay this because it'll hurt students in the future. These, I believe the clarity here is that institutions like this getting in, becoming activist organizations themselves, really is a negative thing. The institution is there to educate, enlighten, challenge people, not to assume the worst about people and then forcibly attack them through protest, through trying to run people in the ground, destroy reputation of a family that's been there, 100 years over something that was a criminal act that was prosecuted and the people have pled guilty to. When powerful institutions follow their agendas rather than the truth, and when they inflict harm on members of the community and don't accept responsibility for that harm, every once in a while, you're going to have some brave souls like the Gibson family and this jury who say enough is enough, he said. They will stay. They will say we're not going to tolerate this in our society and that we're going to hold you accountable. I do think that this will be kind of one of those watershed moments for right now when you do see a lot of this activism coming out of colleges whether it be on the East Coast or the West Coast, where there's riots, there's all this false information, there's all these heavily activist ideas moving out into the real world, where they're starting to come out from these campuses and do stuff. As you see a lot of popular stuff on campuses now related around the idea of segregating students. They're going to have students that are where you just have huge white spaces and huge minority spaces. They're going back in time, back to a time before desegregation, all these things really got in there, and all around it seems very, very bad. However, Cameron Dunbar, a member of Oberlin's class of 2019 and the communication chair of the Student Senate at the time of the protests, said the case's outcome should not be celebrated. It brings about concerns of free speech principles. Significantly, the right of the students to assemble for protest, the repercussions for institutions, the liability of an institution that doesn't censor its members' speech, she said. I think those are the real questions. The students were not sued. The defamation and libel was against the dean of students and the college itself, who printed these, handed these out, and apparently ran some of the protests. A college, a university, if your students are caught doing criminal behavior and your natural reaction is to go and destroy the business, destroy the community, because some of your students were caught breaking the law and they plead guilty to the law, you should not, would not, do not need to do that. But again, that's just my opinion. I do find this story very interesting. I've been following it for the last few days. I've been watching it on other channels. But there you go, $44.2 million for a college that really did get into its activist roots. And there you go. So thank you all for listening. Please like, share, comment. Feel free to dislike the video because I'm not in charge of you. I'm just trying to talk things through and see what the world thinks. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.